Yeah, going down with Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show here up on your view screen on Rumble X, YouTube, and Facebook. As always, this is where we talk about all things Doctor Who. Believe it or not, is Doctor Who a struggling brand? Undoubtedly. Unfortunately, but could the debut of the much talked about spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea, turn the tide? Our standard shows make way for our first reviews and reactions to each episode. And you can join in with your hot takes in the live chat too. There's lots to pick our way over, lots to see, lots to hear. A post-Watershed Doctor Who spin-off, though, and no John Barrowman? Surely not. That's one thing we must try and write on Type 40 Live. And here we are. Yes, I've managed to squirrel myself away at unit towers here after hours whilst they're down on the waterway. So I'm relieved we're finally here and settle down and watch and scroll our way back because someone's been kind enough to leave it open and stay logged in. Okay, so yes, hello, welcome back. Another week with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and an eager panel to bring on for our big review, our big chat about the war between the land and the sea. I can't wait to hear what they've got to say. I've got no idea what the others think, and they don't know what I think either. And I suspect that you have opinions there you're ready to let leash with over in the live chat on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. So we'll have your opinions as well, all in the mix for a huge roundtable discussion. No holds barred, as ever. Okay, so who's first? Who's ready? Who's limbering up? Let's have a look. Oh, there she is. Yes, it's our siren of the seas, Charlotte Shields.
Hello, everybody. You're sneaky. You on purpose didn't let us speak in the green room, bloke. So Dan's very true what you just said. We have no idea what each other thinks. So he's done it on purpose.
Yes, I believe that raw reactions are the best reactions in the nicest possible way. And not knowing what any of you think about this, because we've been talking about it now. Has it got to be about 2 years since we first heard the title, The War Between the Land and the Sea? You think, well, what on earth is this? You know, and you get fed up of sort of repeating it over and over again when there's nothing to attach to. And here we are now. We've seen something at least with the premiere. So, but well, I can wait a few hours to find out what you guys thought about it.
It's going to be an interesting stream. I think that's the word of the night, is my prediction.
Well, they're all interesting, but I think this is going to be quite colourful. That would be my guess. I know opinions are probably going to be strong, but then again, when aren't they? When it comes to anything related to Doctor Who, and Unit HQ as well. I mean, I'm not particularly fond of this location, Unit Towers. So I'm glad that they've abandoned this because it's ideal space for us to knock about with for the next however long, as well. Because we have our own crack agents to bring in, including Mr. Gary Akers, all wired up and raring to go.
Hello, Charlotte. Hello,
Gary.
Hi, Dan. Long time no see, buddy. How have you been doing?
Not so bad, thank you, pal. How was yours?
Good. You know, we had a really fun chill stream this morning, and you know, since then, this morning I've decided to conduct an experiment. I have a glass of like Thames water here, and I'm going to see if the premise of the episode holds, and if I collapse sometime during the show, it'll be because the water is so murky.
We'll have to have the medics on standby. It's very, very brave of you to do that just for us, Gary, to dice with death.
Yeah, it's just a personal experiment.
And joining us as well, back for this one. I think it's been a week or two since we've had him on, and in fine voice, I think he's necking a glass of water. At least I hope it's water. You never know when it comes to the head hooligan himself, the master of all things Cinescope, Mr. Luke Walters. Welcome back, mate. We can't hear a word you're saying. All we've got is a lot of interference.
I know, that's I think that's Sea Devil speak.
No, we can't hear you. don't think he believes us that we can't hear him. So he'll be back in a moment or two. Do you think Unit have got him?
Maybe that's a technique. Maybe they were like, we can't have too many voices on the stream, so we will get one feed.
They're trying to take us down right away. That's what it is, because they know, because of what we said about Doctor Who. Oh no, what we're going to say about this? That's what they're realizing, I think. Look, yeah, so this is Doctor Who without the Doctor, Doctor Who without a companion. But, you could say that we've been without a formidable Doctor and companion for a little while now. Spin-offs are nothing new when it comes to Doctor Who. We've had several before. Again, some have worked better than others. We've all got our favourites. And I've got a bit of time for all of these. Yes, all of them. Really, I'm very, very forgiving. But it's been quite a long time since the last one. It's been a good 9 years. And I think there has been a certain amount of appetite for a spin-off, despite the fact that Doctor Who without the Doctor isn't for everyone, is it? Because that's the character, that's the person who's the centre of the entire Whoniverse. And for some, if he's not there, specifically, he's not there, then it simply isn't Doctor Who. Adult science fiction drama on British television, that's something that rarely works as well. I think for the most part, aiming this sort of content at an adult audience, at a post-watershed audience, it's a really fine balance to strike. Mostly, if they do attempt it, it's something post-apocalyptic, or it's connected to real-world science to do with sort of advances in fertility or in cloning, or in things like that. Hot-button topics, I suppose, that are just that just feel like they're a couple of years into the future. But when fantastical elements are introduced, that's when things tend to go awry. I mean, the BBC have tried this several times over the last 30 years, specifically a Crime Traveller there with Michael French, Paradox with Tasman Outhwaite, two ex-EastEnders. There was Hermione Norris's series to The Outcasts from 2009, also failed. All of these were one-season wonders. And then about 7 years ago, there was Hard Sun there. They didn't really know who the audience was for any of this stuff. And because the mainstream general populace sort of rejected it, I think, as just childishness. The one outlier recently does seem to have been his Dark Materials, which is also made by Bad Wolf. So if that can buck the trend, maybe it's an indication that post Netflix and Amazon and the rise of shows like Stranger Things, that maybe broader appetites have changed, and it could be right. It could be right to try again. And who knows? Trying again with a 5-part event series, it's conservative, I suppose you could say. I'm going to try again now and access Luke Walters too. So, Luke, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, I kept saying the host has muted your mic. I don't know. Because you do not want to hear what I got now. It's good. Yeah, all good. I need a haircut. That's one, as I was saying. Need a haircut. That's gone mad.
John,
you broke through the Sea Devil interference, Luke.
Yeah, you literally
water.
sounded like part of the episode tonight.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, hello,
Yes,
hello.
So I was just speaking, Luke, about how this kind of fare tends not to play well with evening audiences, when the kids have gone to bed. Even his Dark Materials was shown in quite a late night slot, wasn't it? I mean, I'm wondering, have appetites changed in the last few years? The geek culture seems to be growing and growing and growing, but I think Britain is different to America. Certainly, there's so little fantastical drama on after sort of 5 in the afternoon.
Well, it's been positioned, isn't it, as that ITV cop drama, that Line of Duty-esque, but with an alien twist. So, and obviously they removed any mention of the Whoniverse, far from it. So it's going to obviously trick a lot of people to kind of view it. Because no one's going to know who Gemma Redgrave is. The general audience is not going to know Captain Sexy Pants. So,
well, we speculated about this ages ago because the Whoniverse was seen as an innovation that was going to change the entire landscape of Doctor Who. They were going to upscale from. And there's a custom graphic and a flashy logo. and a fanfare, Marvel Studios style. I had an inkling that was going to be done away with for this, simply because of the way that it had been promoted up to now. So that was the first surprise. I was still sort of surprised the episodes didn't start with that. I was surprised to be proven correct. And you're quite right. I mean, for the first 25 minutes of the first episode, you would be forgiven for thinking you're watching anything remotely connected to Doctor Who. But we're going to come to the episodes themselves in a couple of minutes. Obviously, this is the last content produced under the fabled deal between Disney and Bad Wolf. Now long a thing of the past, Gary. I mean, seeing those two logos together was weird anyway. And now it seems like old news, doesn't it, to go back there, even though it's only been a couple of months.
When I was watching, especially the first time I saw it at the end of the first episode, when I saw the graphic at the end, this has been a presentation in association with Disney Plus, I thought, wait, Disney Plus? Because, for all that we've been talking about over the last couple months that Disney's gone, it was a mental disconnect to see that logo at the end of the episode.
Very, very strange. The Bad Wolf personnel are all there, credited on the end credits there. Russell T Davies, Julie Gardner, Jane Tranter, Phil Collinson, and there's Joel Collins. Joel is the guy who's been responsible for this latest revamp of the design of the Sea Devils, originally featured in 1972's story of the same name. Of course, even that's been revamped. Russell T Davies has co-written this with Pete McTighe. I was going to say the young, hopeful Pete McTighe. This man drifts between being flavour of the month with Doctor Who fans to being public enemy #1, depending on what the latest of his projects, which one you've seen and how well it's gone down. He seems very proud of the new Sea Devil there, and he writes episode 2, whereas Russell T Davies wrote episode 1. So I don't know if that's the pattern that's established going forward, whether it's sort of one each until the end, and maybe they write the final one together. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll find out in just 2 weeks' time. So the war between the land and the sea is going to be all played out in just a fortnight's time. An event series is how it's being built. There's a lot of mystery surrounding its production and the original intended format. In fact, somebody at the BBC, Lindsay Salt, said just a few weeks ago we were getting this next year. And then it all sort of changed overnight. It seems there was a lot of people in all camps that were very unhappy and nobody was talking to one another. But an arrangement has been arrived at. We've got it first in Britain on BBC One and the iPlayer. So this launched on Sunday, the 7th of December there. So it's all up there to stream and to watch in perpetuity. Sea Devils, that got a refresh as well. The original Malcolm Hulke story as a kind of prequel. And these sort of things rarely play well. Hacking material away from classics that people love. Not many people are fans of that. And retrofitting it with new dialogue, that's bound to upset a lot of people. Did you catch the Sea Devils re-edit, Luke?
No, I caught some of it. I didn't catch all of it. I was a bit busy during the day. I forgot it was on iPlayer, to be fair. I think I caught about 45 minutes, an hour of it. I thought it was better than the Daleks, and it was way better than the Daleks and War Between. It was better than the War Between. It was better than the War Games. I thought they actually did a good job of it as well. I caught the War Between Land and Sea, the clunky bit. I'm glad they kept the clangers. That was always quite nice. For the most part, I thought, they did actually a good job of it, to be fair.
It lined up with the War Between, I think, quite nicely, quite sensitively. And sensitivity isn't something that one usually associates with the editing work of Ben Cook, Charlotte. Did you catch this?
No, because I've just been burnt too many times with the other edits.
Fair enough.
And I enjoy the original. I enjoy Sea Devils as it is on iPlayer right now. So I'm happy just to watch that.
You're happy to slog it out for the full 2 hours and 20 minutes Gary. You and I both watched it, and we've been comparing notes, haven't we? And we both had a pretty good time with it. I rate this pretty highly. I thought he pulled it off for a change.
I was very pleased. I thought it was tight and pacey. I thought the new score blended very well with the old. The dialogue change aside, because that kind of kicks it into a weird area, but I thought as far as the editing went, I thought it did service to the original. It's an alternate that's out there if we want it. It's not replacing the original, so that's good. But I didn't feel it was a waste of my 90 minutes. I thought that all the important key scenes were there. I thought actually it benefited the climax. It made the climactic attack on the base, I thought it was tighter and a little bit more exciting. So overall, I thought, as Luke said, this is absolutely the best of the re-edits that they've done so far.
Did it get you hyped up to watch The War Between itself? Did it have the desired effect?
No.
Just be honest, Gary.
Because
Be
obviously
honest.
that's what it's there to do, isn't it? To act as a starter to a main course in this respect. But you could have lived without it.
I enjoyed the re-edit. Well, I won't compare it yet. I'll just say that I really enjoyed the re-edit.
Oh. Yes, so Doctor Who handling the fish course there for us. No doctors present in this, although he did get a mention. Which doctor, they never say, do they? And that's probably a wise move as well. Of course, if you want more from us, you can catch us on the playlist there. Previous editions of this show. We've got new people in the live chat making themselves known. Thank you for joining us, everybody. If you've come here to get our views, our takes on this brand new event series, there's lots more besides as well to dive into there. Event shows, deep dive reviews, Ask Us Anything shows, and our regular news roundups too, as well as the podcast. That's available across all major podcatchers and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. But this is Type 40 Live on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Our reviews and reactions to the latest chunk of Whoniverse content, the last chunk of Whoniverse content for a long, long time, as it premieres over the next few weeks. We're going to be surveying all that is put before us, and as always, bringing you our genuine, honest, authentic opinions, whatever the weather. Obviously, a quick nod to the writer, the creator of the Sea Devils and the Silurians, Malcolm Hulke, one of Doctor Who's most venerated, a respected screenwriter amongst his peers, no longer with us now for several decades. And I do wonder what he would make of this, better or for worse, revisiting his characters and his ideas after nearly 55 years, isn't it, since the Silurians. That's no bad thing for somebody who was just writing for a pulpy children's tea time show on a Saturday evening. But at that time, they weren't even sure whether it was going to have any future or not. Our takes on the war between the land and the sea coming up next.
Now, I suggest you start watching Type 40 because I can't. I've got to watch this little blighter. The job for... I'll have less of that from you, thank you very much. Know your place.
Know your place.
Look, if I have to run up a flight of stairs, you come and find me.
I'll be in the lift.
That's going to the bottom of the floor then. Keep watching Type 40. There's good chaps.
It's been a few years since I left school. I'd forgotten that 2/3 of the Earth was covered by water and various other little sort of factoids. I think that they drip out again here for the war between the land and the sea. So that's nice. That's good of them to think of old boys like me who are starting to forget the things that they were taught at school. But the fascination, I think, between, I suppose, the notions the scientific understanding of what may have come before us. We don't really know how old the Earth is. Civilizations that have risen and fallen long before ours. You know, there's a lot of romance in that. And there's a lot of, obviously, intrigue in rediscovering, I suppose, the histories that are simply lost to time, to the elements and the speculation. And I think that's the real gold in Malcolm Hulke's original premise, the notion behind these earlier primitive life forms that ruled our Earth before us. And that's very much where the war between the land and the sea comes in. So it's commenced its run on BBC One and the iPlayer Sunday, the 7th of September. And here's the general premise for the entire series. When a fearsome and ancient species emerges from the ocean, dramatically revealing themselves to humanity, an international crisis is triggered. With the entire population at risk, units step into action as the land and sea wage war. That's very promising. I'm not sure we've seen much war waged so far. We've seen a lot of talking, but obviously there's a lot more to come as well. Episode 1 is called Homo Aqua, and episode 2 was called Plastic Apocalypse. And we're going to be talking about both of them on this edition of the show, as well as taking in those redesigns of classic Doctor Who monsters that are plenty of people's favourites, that everybody has pretty, I think, opinions about the new Sea Devils are split right down the middle. So I was quite excited to see this in the end, Charlotte. I've sort of ebbed and flowed about it over the months and the years. You know, how hyped can you be about something you know nothing about? How invested can one remain in a brand which keeps doing us dirty, and in writers who keep making examples of their own target audience? As it happens, I think the last 6 months, I don't think it's so much that time has healed, but I think I've just found it within myself. I've mustered up the goodwill to watch this with a full heart. I was quite impressed by the trailers, I won't deny. And whilst I've never particularly rated Russell Tovey as an actor, certainly not as a leading man, he's never particularly offended me either. And Gugu Mbatha-Raw, there can't be any denial that since she was originally in Doctor Who 17 years ago, she's gone on to have quite the career. So I think when I'm looking at this show on paper, it's got a lot of stuff which, if it wasn't tied to Doctor Who, I'd probably have ringed this, circled this in my TV guide and made a note to catch it anyway. But of course, it's one thing to sort of work your way through all that. When you sit down to watch something and you get a feel of the tone, how the story is being rolled out, it's entirely different, isn't it? So the simple question is, how did you find watching both of these episodes? Were they worth the wait? And is this the kind of story that you would usually watch? Because it's very, very different from actual Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah, I will start with saying I agree with you. I think going in, they gave themselves grounds and things to explore that you going in, you were like, okay, if you do this well, this could be interesting. I was in that mindset. I tried not to go in thinking it's going to be terrible, it's going to be bad. I tried to put everything that had happened before, because like I said, this is clearly its own entity. They were trying to market it as almost not Doctor Who. It was different. So I went in with that mindset. And the word I came out with was frustrating. And that's how I felt. And not in the way I have with recent Who. I was frustrated because there were bits of this. There was story beats, there were characters, which I think were actually done quite well. There were bits that were working quite well. And I thought, no, maybe because this is a spin-off and they've given themselves a different remit, it's working. But yeah. I was getting into it, and then all the issues that I feared came into the script. The dialogue.
It's free of the baggage of the need, and obviously losing the branding of the Whoniverse, which was surprising. But when you lose all of that, you're free to build a world within a world, to set an altered tone and to build new characters. And up until quite recently, about 2.5 years ago, funnily enough, there was nobody better on British television at building characters, human characters, than Russell
Yes.
T Davies. And here, in this respect, he seems to be right back on form right away, building relatable, rounded, interesting people who seem to have lots of different facets to them, and who could be people that you would bump into in the pub, the cafe, the bookies, wherever. So
Yes.
the old Russell T Davies is back in that respect. And yet there is something very, very 2025 sort of hovering in the back of it too.
Here's how I categorized it in my head. When it was Barclay related story, when it was purely character stuff with Barclay, it worked because Russell wrote him very clearly as an everyday man, as this guy who's not part of the world of the alien side of UNIT, who's not part of the extraordinary. He literally says in the script, I book taxis, like that's his whole job. So when it was related back to that, or when like it focused on his family, you saw a devoted sort of father in bits of this script. You saw somebody who was co-parenting with an ex quite successfully, and
He's a very relatable figure, Charlotte, in all these different levels. And even though there's quite a lot in there at the beginning, it doesn't feel like too much, because this is everyday life to a lot of people. And I think it's very wisely done. And for everything that I've said, I've taken the piss out of Russell Tovey, not just for the years, just because I've never felt he was a leading man. But in this respect, I think picking somebody who's not a natural leading man actually does the character a better service. I think if it was somebody who was brimming over with charisma, then that you've just pointed to wouldn't work.
No, the thing is with Tovey, and I thought this going in, to be fair, he's very good at grounded characters. He's very good at sort of, like you said, he's not a charismatic actor in the slightest, and that works in this setting because you're meant to sort of buy him being overwhelmed at times and not knowing what to say and being clumsy and all that stuff. And I actually like the idea that they had that. What sort of makes him stand out is his compassion. I think that's a really lovely thing to have on screen again, to have a character that isn't picked because he's the smartest, isn't picked because he's got power or he's got connections. It's because he actually was respectful and he showed compassion and he showed emotion in that way, and that's what the Sea Devils related to. Like I said, all of this stuff, I was like, wow, I'd missed this in Who. I'd missed this with Russell's writing. And it was really good to have it on screen again. But then within the same scene of all that and stuff I liked, and I'm sorry, some of this dialogue was incredibly preachy, was incredibly virtue signally, and it was hitting you over the head with the message, with the environmental stuff. You literally had, and I won't go into too much detail, but you had that scene with the glass, which was how we referenced at the beginning, and I thought, actually, that's a lovely way to show your point, because it's show, don't tell.
That reminded me of the kind of situation that characters get put in series like Black Mirror on Channel 4. But
what I liked about that, it let the audience think. It let us sort of take that image and the bits of dialogue we did get and go, okay, here's what they're saying. And then within 2 seconds, we literally had Barclay do the most guilt-driven sort of, I'm so sorry for being human, it's all our fault, we're terrible, we've done this, we've done that speech. And it was like, Russell, you had it. You were saying your point actually quite well, but now you're treating your audience like idiots. Now you're treating us like we can't even put 2 and 2 together here.
But Charlotte, surely though, he had to say something.
Yeah, he had to say something, but to be so point blank and hitting you over the head with every bit of dialogue.
I have to say, I don't agree on this. I found the dialogue to be just really, really well written and very true. You see, in my view, a character who's been literally whisked away from his everyday job and put in that situation would feel pressured to say what he feels he should say. I wouldn't say without thinking about it, but I'm not. I mean, Simon Horton's a strong environmentalist, and he can talk about these matters far greater complexity than I can. I'm relatively environmentally aware, but I don't subscribe to a lot of the more extreme examples of those kind of beliefs, agendas, and campaigns. But there's a lot of grey. The thing is, there's a lot of grey areas to these topics where that things are neither right nor wrong. And how I took that is that if somebody puts you in that situation and confronts you with a harsh reality, more often than not, somebody who is a fish out of water is going to get quite defensive, is going to fold immediately. This man isn't an ambassador. And for me, that's where the complexity is. And actually, to me, that was again, different people are going to have different ideas, aren't they?
Well,
I thought that was more beautiful writing. I thought this character was built so well.
Well, that's my point. I think in bits he was, but as soon as it felt like he was being used as a mouthpiece, and like at the beginning, you had that whole scene of how they explained the new naming system. You literally had the Colonel character utter the line, "Well, we're better than that." I'm sorry, what? We're better because we now don't use the term Sea Devil? Like, that's what I took from it.
Again, I mean, the whole thing with the Sea Devils, I mean, this was this whole sort of beat to it where Russell T Davies had said something very, very unwise on the publicity trail, hadn't he, about the Sea Devils being a racist term. And I think a lot of us had taken it that would therefore be part of this story, Luke. It turns out, in my opinion, thank you, Charlotte. It turns out, in my view, it actually wasn't part of the story at all, and that was Russell trolling the fans on the red carpet, having a bit of fun at our expense, saying something that he knew would get the series talked about, and he knew would sort of that he knew would rankle people, because in the context of the story, it's sort of laughed about that Sea Devil was a name given to these creatures. How can I put this?
Yeah, even when they talk about
lining up with superstition and things like that. But what I wanted to come to you next was taking on board what Charlotte's just said and what she's sort of framed the Barclay character. You're a writer. You write. You produce your own short films. The idea of a sort of a fish out of water character, somebody who a case of mistaken identity. They don't come much more classic storytelling tropes than that as a starting point, do they? But a character can't remain in that place. You've got to push on. I mean, what are your thoughts on what Charlotte's just said? And have you got a word that you feel sums up your experience watching both episodes?
I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I don't think it was too preachy. I thought it was actually really well written. I thought Pete McTighe's episode was probably a little bit stronger than Russell's, to be honest. I thought it was very well shot. I thought this, wherever the money went on Disney, it clearly went on this episode. I think as soon as the old guy, the Black Colonel or Sergeant, wherever he is from Children of Earth, as soon as he finds the hand under the ground, I was like, oh, because I watched it with the hooligans lot, and we were all like, oh, okay, this is the way we're going with it. And yeah, I was blown away by it. I thought it was really good. I thought Russell Tovey. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of him, to be honest, as an actor. But I thought he played the everyman really well. Even the little voice breaks when he's like, okay. I was like, yeah, cool. That's how basically he's playing his character from Being Human, which is a bit of a cop out. But he does it well. He did it for 3 or 4 seasons under Toby Whithouse, so he could do it for this one. But I thought, yeah, it was incredibly well written. I didn't think it was too preachy. I thought the cinematography was fantastic. And I know they got the director from 73 Yards and Dot and Bubble directed this series. And I thought he's doing a fantastic job. It's nice not to hear Murray Gold for a change and have some music. I think the Sea Devils actually look beautiful. I think my biggest gripe with the episode is his ex-missus is the most annoying character I've ever come across. She's so
Well, I think
annoying.
she started off as very annoying, but by the end of it, when you again, this is the Russell T Davies that we used to get, and certainly the Pete McTighe that wrote Wentworth, where the characters are already starting to change and to develop and to grow, and so it was very clear that she was starting to get jealous, to see Barclay in a different light, even though they're divorced, that something was still there. Yeah, I was really surprised by this. I was surprised by how good Russell Tovey was, because I've never seen him be this good in anything before. I mean, admittedly, I haven't followed his career forensically, Gary. So I was delighted by that, and I was just relieved by the tone of the whole thing. I mean, for me, it wasn't preachy either. Having said that, it was labelled as an eco thriller. I think they were very clear about what it was going to be about, and how it was going to be framed was obvious. And it's going to be more obvious for some than others. I think it's going to be more raw for some than others. But I was also surprised about how stark it was in places. I mean, this scene, for example, where the two unit soldiers get dragged underneath the soil like that. I mean, I forgot how hard the Doctor Who universe can hit, because I don't think, Gary, that Doctor Who itself has done. Doctor Who used to have moments like this with these two characters where they appear to have gone, but they're actually still there underneath the flooring. Doctor Who used to do this, but it doesn't anymore, and I don't know why. So this was the only element where I really thought of Doctor Who. You know, it seemed, I wouldn't say this series felt like anything could happen. It did still have a sort of coziness about it, but it did seem like the Doctor Who universe has sort of found its balls again.
I was flashing during this scene for a moment, thinking about Amy getting pulled under the ground in Hungry Earth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying it was a copy. That's just the imagery kind of leapt back into my mind as I was watching that scene. Before I have a couple of my thoughts, I just want to follow up very quickly to something Charlotte and Luke said. I do agree with Luke. I thought that the second episode was definitely better than the first, for sure. In terms of what Charlotte was saying about the we're better than that, I was really hoping for something that didn't happen when the Colonel, who I think for me is the best character in this so far, when he makes the comment about the mythology, it's like, we're better than that. I was hoping somebody in that room, Russell Tovey or whatever, would walk forward, point up to the Sea Devil on the wall and say, oh, but we're not better than that, are we? You know, I thought that was he goes on and on about how better we are for not calling a race the Sea Devils when one of them is left strung up on the wall. I thought, somebody please point out the hypocrisy. Anyway, so just a couple of my opening thoughts here. For me, the most terrifying words to see on my TV screen are written by Russell T Davies. And it didn't take long for him to live down to my expectations in the first episode. I thought, from the completely gratuitous they them reference in the first 2.5 minutes, I know because I checked the clock the instant I heard it, to making Russell Tovey's straight male character, at least in this first episode, a total whiny, insecure kind of beta character, to getting the Silurian canon completely wrong, to a couple of truly embarrassing scenes, which we'll talk about later, to Kate's derisive comment about Christians, just that kind of offhanded thing, I just went, oh, come on. But, I don't want to be completely negative, but so I will say that the hailstorm of garbage sequence was the perfect visual metaphor for what Doctor Who fans have been enduring since 2017. And especially in the last 2 years. So there were some things I liked about it, but as Charlotte said, for every one thing which you went, oh, okay, all right, then something comes right along to kind of pull the rug out from that.
Yeah,
I'm not quite as glowing as Luke on this, but for the most part, I thought this was very compelling, supremely entertaining. There was no question of me waiting to watch the second episode. This reminded me of, again, the Russell T Davies of old, whereby I couldn't wait to see what happened next. The episodes that were 50 minutes each seemed to just go by like that. The characters were all fantastically built. There's lots of hokum in there. Yeah, there is. That's not changed. And I'll bow to your greater knowledge of Silurian sort of lore and the history of that, Gary. If it does get things wrong about those characters, I didn't spot them.
Well,
but it did the story, the situation that they were in. I found it convincing and compelling, and I thought that these, particularly the first episode, established itself so well that when I think Kate Stewart turns up about 30 minutes in, I thought, oh Christ, yeah, I forgot she was supposed to be in it, and it had compelled me that much. I'd almost forgotten that this was the Doctor Who spin-off. I was so interested in the other characters and where it was going. You're quite right about obviously there's a non-binary character in this, and that's Barclay's daughter, isn't it, Kirby? Which usually, and I didn't know there'd be a non-binary character in this. Not that it would have meant me not watching it; it would have made me switch off. But it would have it would have hit scar tissue. And yet here, in this episode, they're referred to by the alternate pronoun. I'm not going to offer any judgment on that. That's another conversation. But that's all observed. But apart from that, the character is a normal person, quite good humoured.
I did like the fact that she loved her dad.
I don't use those. I don't subscribe to all of that. To me, that's a girl. So she loves her dad, loves her mom.
Yes.
And it's a functioning family. You can see the character's got lots of flaws, but the family unit, the dynamic, works really well. So even that character is perfectly. I mean, you're quite right. For them to get that, I think that was trotted out. As you say, it's like 3 minutes, and we've got it's a pronoun. We go, God. But because it didn't stay there and they didn't hover on it, and that character wasn't portrayed as being really virtuous. Actually, she seems like really quite lazy and directionless and all these other things. Then again, that didn't bother me. That didn't bother me either, because there are real people who do whatever we think of it. There are real people who use those pronouns and live that life, and we can have opinions about their choices or whatever, but those people do exist. And the disservice in the past, and what we've always argued about as commentators, is again not just against representation writ large, but against false representation, against forced identity politics, and that kind of venerating one group of people as being above another, and so for me, the whole non-binary thing, after 3 or 4 minutes, I just didn't care. I can accept that character as who she's being written and portrayed as, and so it couldn't be. Whereas other characters that we've been served within Doctor Who, and Doctor Who's meant to be the family show, haven't been written like that at all. They're portrayed as almost being angelic, godlike people. So T. Davies writing Doctor Who with this care and responsibility the way that he used to.
I tell you what, it did impress me. It was, I think, how they did use Kate and the unit setup, because the temptation would have been, I bet, doing this project, let's have Kate quite forefront here, because it's the unit spin-off. That's sort of how it was talked about a lot at the beginning, before we knew about the Sea Devil angle, and like, she's the legacy character here, let's have her lots. But actually it showed restraint, and that's a word which I don't usually associate with the current era, of let's set up Barclay, like you said, let's set up his family, let's set up the stakes, because throughout both episodes, for all the stuff that frustrated me, the thing that ran through it and it actually did keep me interested, I'm with you on that, Dan. This has kept me interested. This has kept me intrigued more than anything the last 2 series has done. And that's because there was that feeling of a threat, that feeling of something is
building.
dangerous here. There's going to be consequences of some description for these characters and actions. And as soon as you had that scene of them talking to the sea devils in the sea, and then you had, like I said, that quite graphic death of the two soldiers, I was like, no, this is what Doctor Who's been missing. This is what it's
Charlotte,
needed.
and even though the title is The War Between the Land and the Sea, implying this sort of firm divide, certainly within the groups of humans so far. So we've got 3 different sets of marine life forms. We know there are 3 life forms so far that we've met, but within, and I suspect that they will get broken up within the humans that we've got on screen. There are different groups of humans who want different things, different agendas, and they're working towards slightly different goals, despite the fact they're putting on a united front. And I get the impression that the characters from the sea are also more divided than they appear as well. And so I'm excited about where that could go dramatically.
Yeah, I like how the sort of the political angle, once you got to the idea of the meeting and all the different governments and all of that, it showed backbiting. It showed people trying to get what they wanted. It shows egos. It showed these things that, yes, they are definitely in the real world. You cannot get away from that. And it would, and this is where actually I'm like, no, Russell, you've got a point here. If anything like this happened, you would get this reaction when it comes to certain politicians and certain people. That's actually...
But they wouldn't take no for an answer. They would still make him read from a script, even though that was clearly the wrong thing to do, and that person wouldn't be able to do it, and it was never going to work. They would still insist that he do it until the thing breaks down. And
getting to that point of, you've literally had them say, we are not going to talk to anybody but him, and they still try to put their man in front. That is to a T what would happen in the real world.
Because
so actually,
although all that to get the characters into that situation, that's where the hokum is. That's where the sort of the silliness kind of is. But obviously things like that need to happen for us to get to the real drama, and it is a fantasy drama at the end of the day. So I like hokum. I like, this is why I watch this brand of entertainment, Luke, for something to be fantastical. Otherwise I would stick to watching. I'd watch House of Cards, or I'd watch, I don't mind sort of leaps like that if it gets me to an interesting place that's ultimately going to be entertaining and enjoyable and memorable.
Yeah, and I think it does definitely evoke the old tortured Children of Earth. It's like, oh, we have the giant tank in the room and we're doing diplomacy. He's clearly drawing on, right, what has worked in the past. Okay, it is kind of a rip-off of the Silurian episode, The Hungry Earth, and it's like, right, okay, which again was written by Chibnall, but it works. Like this, it just works. Yeah. And I think the redesign of the Sea Devils is actually, I like it. I'm for it. I thought the scene of them coming out of the water,
I've always liked it.
I was like, oh, that's chilling. That if you put that in a Doctor Who trailer, in the series 1 or series 2 trailer, everyone's going to be like, oh, okay. I don't know. It gripped me from moment 1. I thought this is, I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. I thought, he's very well written. He's a human. He's behaving how a human would behave. I thought Kate was used very well. It's less is more, isn't it? And then you get to see us skulking in the back of the van and stuff as well. And Colonel Sexy Pants. Obviously, we knew that was a thing. That was a bit. I was like, oh, and she them say bollocks in the Doctor Who universe.
We've been saying, Luke, we have been saying for months, if not years, that they cannot keep, and this is whether it's in Doctor Who or any kind of spin-off, any medium, audio, print, wherever, however, they cannot keep bringing this actress who is more than capable. She's appeared in multiple series and movies and done lots of stage work. They can't keep bringing this actress and this character back and doing absolutely fuck all with her, not developing her in the slightest, and not giving Gemma Redgrave any material at all to build her character with. She's shown immense perseverance and commitment to this part, which I can't think will have given her much back in return other than a few bookings for weekends off at conventions when she's got no actual proper work on. But here, Kate Stewart actually starts to feel like she could be a real functioning character and person. There's something of the young sort of Judi Dench's M about her. I think she plays all that stuff very, very convincingly, very quietly. And the home life stuff as well, where she's in a relationship with Colonel Sexy Boy. He's a ridiculous character, absolutely ridiculous. Fortunately, Gemma Redgrave plays what truth there is to mine for in these scenes of their home life together, which seems considerably more advanced from when we last saw them. So because Redgrave is a great actress and she's given the room to do this, even this seemed sort of believable. Yeah, I can accept this because it's relatable. This is real. Thankfully, we don't hang around for any of the afterwards action. But I mean, what do you think about? Because Kate Stewart, we spoke about her on the last show, Charlotte. Russell T Davies had said a few words, and Pete McTighe had given this big speech about you're going to be surprised about where she goes. Literally, you're going to be surprised about where she goes. But I didn't necessarily believe them, because when Russell speaks, when he opens his mouth, rubbish comes out, and Pete McTighe's not far behind him, and yet they are developing her after all.
Here's the thing. I can see the attempt. I will happily say that. I will see, like you said, they are trying to sort of give her this more softer, I think, angle with this love story they're trying to do. They're trying to sort of show her actually having to fight a bit more and not just get everything handed to her, which is a good idea. But my issue is all of this stuff would have just been so much better for me if there was any setup in the last 2 years. Like, for me, this whole relationship has been magicked into thin air, which you can get away with sometimes, but the problem is you can't get away with it when your two actors in question have no chemistry to me. It's like I see them on screen,
they haven't got any chemistry really, no, not to speak of.
I don't have the actors to feed like that way to go, well, it's not been written and established well, but at least the actors have a bit of energy on screen. So all that stuff with Colonel, I rolled my eyes, but that's because it's not been set up. I think, and I'm sorry, you've had 2 series and specials, because he was in the specials, to have a couple of scenes or to have something to sort of ground this, and that's the problem. Like
well, in Kate, you've got a good actress in an underwritten part. In him, you've got a mediocre actor in a very thin part. I can't blame him, but they should have probably created a new character, had this several years on, and then maybe in a relationship with somebody else. Because when you see them together, it just makes you laugh because of all the times we've taken the piss out of him, Charlotte.
Well, it makes it even more funny when you have that scene of her with the laptop in bed and him sleeping next to her, and I'm just like, oh. But here's the thing: like in this series, they've shown with Barclay. We've only seen 2 episodes of Barclay, and I feel like I know him quite well at this point. I feel like I know his motivations. I know how sort of he thinks a little bit. I know his sort of virtues and his weaknesses, like all these things which are so important for characters. Actually, this is where my head is right now, if I feel a little bit everywhere. It's like I've been shown in some ways, oh, you can do it, Russell and Pete. Like, this team seems to have found that spark again, found something which seems to have all but escaped them with the current show. But then, like I said with the Kate, that's another prime example of me going, but there's nothing here for me to grasp onto. But you've done it with Barclay. I've known him and his ex for 2 episodes, and I'm more convinced by their relationship than Kate and Colonel. And like Salt and Barclay and the start of whatever they've got going on.
We've seen so many still images of this confrontation, scenes between Salt and Barclay, Luke, that I think they've been showing us pictures of them together for about 6 months. and so to finally see these scenes sort of play out, it does happen in the way we expected, but I think both of them are so good in these roles, and the scenes do feel really charged, that I didn't feel like any of it was a foregone conclusion. There was so much tension in the air for me, particularly when she asked for that glass of water from the Thames. I thought that was fantastic myself. But I was also relieved that they didn't spend great reams of time with just those two characters head to head either. It was broken up quite well as well. It wasn't like a Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling sort of thing. This does still feel like sort of pulpy fiction.
Yeah, I think the only gripe with it is it took 8. That was the most action-packed getting a glass of water I've ever seen in my life. Took 8 soldiers and a van to speed through London to go down to the Thames and get a glass of water.
They would do that. They would do that.
Yeah, and sorry, Charlotte, they did set up Colonel Sexy Pants and Kate because they held hands once in an episode. So they
Love
clearly
story
thought
of the century.
they clearly thought at the end of
A rare moment of subtlety when it comes to sexual encounters in Doctor Who itself.
Because if you hold hands with someone, you're clearly doing the deed. It was a bit weird. Also, right. So does he go to work like an hour early? Like, what's the crack here then? Because if she's walking in a bit later, is he Skyping off early in the morning so no one knows?
You think they're keeping it secret from their colleagues? Last week, Luke. Last week, I took the piss out of I took the piss out of the current incarnation of Unit, because to me they seem more like a HR department. Not only are they mostly all chicks, but they're all on. But more importantly, they're all on first name terms. But here, all of a sudden, Kate Stewart is calling Shirley Bingham Mrs. Bingham. It starts to sound and feel like a professional working environment, and that these people may actually know what they're doing. Again, it's a tall order when some of these characters come with a bit of baggage. But I suppose for anybody who will have watched this and not been aware of the Doctor Who trappings, to them, they're meeting these characters for the first time. There won't be any stark difference for them, will there?
Yeah.
In fact, with the benefit of hindsight, there was 3 mentions of the Doctor, wasn't there? Very, very small. And I was expecting them to go off and say something like, oh, he was beautiful. Oh, it was magical. But they didn't. They just left it there, and then they moved on. And they never even said which Doctor it was. It could have been, Barclay said, I met the Doctor once and I've been thinking about it. And they never allude to which incarnation it was. It was just enough.
I know they introduced the new character. So everything that's shot in Wales has got to have someone from Sex Education in it, apparently. So the other scientist in the wheelchair, because they brought him in. Why wasn't Lenny Rush in this? Lenny Rush is great. He's fantastic. Like, get him in. We don't need another unit scientist when you've already got Lenny Rush. Like, he's fantastic.
I like Lenny Rush as well, but as I understand it, they only cast him because Ruth Madeley was unavailable. They never intended on keeping him around.
But then keep bringing him back for this one. You don't need that other guy. I know he's a very good actor. I met him a couple of times in Cardiff, but I'd much rather prefer Lenny Rush, because at least then instantly Doctor Who fans going to be like, oh, he's from Legend of Ruby Sunday and wherever, that fabled. But it's like, oh, come on.
Lenny Rush's character, which I can't, was his name Morris?
Yes.
Yeah, Morris Gibbons.
Morris Gibbons.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, he'd be the ideal lead character for a new children's BBC spin-off, Sarah Jane Adventure style. I'd put him in something like that. I think he'd be brilliant. I kind of like him. I think he's a fun personality, and I like that character too. But obviously, whether they could put rockets anywhere near his segue, I think that's debatable. I think that's quite doubtful. It's. Again, I mean, 2 entire episodes. We're talking about a movie's worth of content here, of character development and of plot. It reminded me, in many respects, Gary, of a series that is now, again, 42 years old. Okay, this TV show that when I was a child, I first saw it when I was 11. So we saw it the year after Yeah, the year after it was shown in America, we got it in Britain. And it was also an event series that starts very similarly and starts with the experiences of one kind of everyday man who was a cameraman for a TV station who bears witness to the arrival of giant flying saucers just descending out of the clouds. And then the whole story of an alien occupation plays out over 5 episodes of a miniseries called V, which just electrified me as a child. It's something I rewatch all the time. And I got a feeling of V again watching this, how it was built out. Obviously, we're 4 decades on, so things have changed quite a lot. There was all that had a lot of allegories, didn't it, to Nazi Germany and things like that.
Yes.
Whereas, we're quite a long way on now. This is about other matters, other issues. But the central conflict, it's not a million miles away, about resources and responsibility to people who, for one reason or another, that's not of anybody's choice, whose kind of fates get wrapped up inside one another. So I was thinking of V when I was watching this to some extent, and that got me thinking about the notion of an event series as well. When something has a finite period of time, you think, well, that means it can't go anywhere. Yeah, but in many ways that can be very freeing because, aside from Kate and the unit people, the Doctor Who people, and we're told that they're not safe, but anything could happen to any of the characters in between. And although Charlotte's quite right, there are lots of markers here to, I won't say lazy storytelling, but certainly cliched storytelling and conclusions that we're pretty much convinced it's going to reach even this early. I did have the feeling that I was watching a real TV event for the first time in quite a while.
It's so interesting that you draw the parallels to V, because V and then the follow-up one, which was V: The Final Battle, both from the brilliant Kenneth Johnson. I mean, those were 2 just amazing miniseries and highly influential. But until you mentioned it, I didn't really see the parallel, but I can see that it's there.
Because Mike Donovan in that is kind of an everyman figure. He's also a divorced father, kind of struggling in his day-to-day life, a little directionless. He's more on the surface, more heroic, certainly more broad-shouldered, but actually quite a troubled character. So not a million miles away from Barclay, and there's several others that are very much the same. So I don't know whether Peter or Russell were looking at V when they put this together.
I need to it's been like, I can't even remember when. It's been like decades since I've watched it.
I need
to rewatch it. Wow. But I mean, there were a lot of good kind of small moments in this. I liked the Colonel's comment about, every moment in history needs like an every man witness. I thought that was well done. I thought that I'm glad the way that I think it was in part 2, the way they developed his daughter after that whole initial kind of pronoun thing, but they really do develop that she really is honestly very proud of her dad. I like the scene on the couch with the 2 of them talking, just about his day and how she's so proud
Even
of
though
him.
she's in her late teens or early 20s, she's there. She goes to him for physical contact and reassurance.
I thought that was very well done, and that really added a lot to her character, and I'm glad that they took the time to add that in. I wondered if I could, just a couple thoughts about the Kate character. I was kind of 2 minds with Kate in this episode, because for as many good scenes of her in authority, like the scene in the van, the scene when she's going up the stairs issuing orders, like about barring the French lady from thing, it's like, oh, go ahead and do that, go ahead and do that, go ahead and do that. I just felt, and please tell me if you think I'm just misguided about this, is the actual scenes when she's up in the control room during the chamber meeting, trying to coach Barclay or find out who he is, that in contrast to her very authoritative scenes elsewhere, in those scenes where she's basically doing kind of like mission control for Barkley. It felt like she was playing it like she was like one step away from melting down and totally losing control. And I thought, like, who is he? Who is he? Who is he? And I thought, okay, I get it. It's a very tense situation, but you almost kind of want Kate to be equally kind of cool and in command, almost like an M character from Bond all the time, you know, where nothing phases her. And
no, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Now you've mentioned it. She does get rattled, perhaps easier than she should, with all of her experiences with the Doctor.
And just the one scene, last thing I wanted to say is about the one scene about where what you call Captain Sexy Pants, where he basically comes up and he's fondling her while she's standing there worrying about the fate of the planet. I thought, oh, come on. I think, you know, something like that. If we want something better served to make us buy, Charlotte, as you said, to make us buy this relationship, have him come in and have them have a little dialogue. Yes, where he's like supporting her, like, how are you doing in this? What can I do? Something like that. I'm not talking like a Hallmark scene, but something where you have two capable adults.
Again, domestic situations, sometimes a lot fewer words are spoken, but this is drama. It isn't real life. So you're absolutely right. A few more scenes would have, but then again, I have the strong suspicion that man can't act. I'm trying to be kind, but that may sound cruel, but I don't think he's a very good actor at all, whereas I know Gemma Redgrave is. There were a couple of scenes in this too where, and I noticed it was Kate Stewart both times, Charlotte, where we keep coming back to Kate, I know.
Yeah.
But she was a main character. But in one scene, she goes to, I think she's just sat in bed, and she goes to say the word shit, but stops herself like that, and then it cuts. And then I think 2 or 3 minutes later, she's on the stairwell in that scene that Gary was talking about and says, I'm in the mood for a bollocking. Now, in Britain, of course, she's swearing, but in Britain, these are both swear words. I thought, well, why on earth did they cut off shit but not bollocking? And then I realised it's probably, Luke, something to do with Disney Plus, because in any other country but Britain, nobody knows what bollocks or bollocking means. So it's not a swear word to anybody but the British. In Britain, it was going on after the Watershed show. It didn't matter. But whereas they probably can't say shit on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I said earlier, like, when she said I'm in the mood for a bollocking, I was like, oh, that caught me so off guard. Like, I was like, oh, that feels weird. I didn't notice the shit bit, to be fair. Yeah, too busy just laughing at Colonel Sexy Pants.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did 2 versions of that line, Dan. One for what we watched, Limited Adventure Years in Disney. She says, I'm in a mood to, you know, rip somebody a new one or something like that. I bet you there's going to be an alternate version of that line.
Yeah, and just to add, my feeling is what you're talking about, Gary. You're right. In bits of this, they were clearly trying to paint her as authoritative, in charge. Like, I like the little line when she's talking to the guy, the Prime Minister, and she sort of looks at him and says, or you can just blame UNIT.
Yes.
And it's very clearly a jab, and it's her sort of almost saying, don't try it, mate. Like, that vibe. I was like, that's good. Like, she can play that stuff really well.
A far stronger character, I felt, Charlotte, was this guy. We've seen him before in Children of Earth, at the 3rd season of Torchwood, which I know was a long time ago. And here, bear in mind, I haven't watched that in years. And yet, as soon as he came on screen and started speaking, oh, that dude, it was like he'd never been away. So what do you think of him? That's, what's his name?
Colin. Is that
Colin McFarlane.
Yes. But first of all, he's got such an authoritative voice. Like, he's one of those actors that as soon as he speaks...
What you were just talking about, what the things that Kate and other people haven't got, he has.
Yes. And I was like you. I'd forgot going into this that he was a returning character. But as soon as he appeared, I was just like, oh, it's him. Because he has got that energy. He's got the voice. He's got the presence. And I think that scene when he is talking to the Sea Devils, there's just this sense of he's so solid in that sense that he's not going to break. He's not going to change. And you needed somebody like that. And
he's how Nick Courtney would have been.
I was about to say he did give me Brig vibes
Yeah.
at
Oh, okay.
multiple points in this. And I said last week, the thing that Kate has been suffering from is not having an opposition character to her, not having a second, not having a different viewpoint to do things. And the more I saw of him, the more I was like, oh, wouldn't it have been good if he'd been in the series, the last two series, as just a reoccurring unit character? That
You know,
could have
the
been
you know
that second.
the amazing scene for me, Charlotte, for that character is where, and I was just sitting there going, wow, what a great scene, is where when he's trying to contact the coordinates on the radio and the whole
Yes.
room goes quiet, he's going, come in, and he starts hearing the little crackle and he gets down in his belly, crawling around then and getting, I thought, wow, this guy's a colonel, but he's trying desperately to find his subordinates, to where he's like on the ground, scraping the dirt with his hands, trying to find them again. I thought that was an amazing scene and did so much for his character.
Well, what I loved is after that whole montage when Barclay's, it's the first death he's seen. The fact that he
Yeah.
went to him and tried to sort of say, oh, your first death, you'll be okay. And I think, once again, what in parts of this, we are seeing writing again where people are fully three-dimensional as characters again. They're not just one setting. He could have just been shouty, angry general man. That could have been all he was written as, and the actor probably would have done a very good job at that as well. Because, like I said, he's got that presence, he's got the voice, but they actually made him have, like you said, and that scene that I mentioned, have compassion, have understanding, have those different things that what I've got a feeling they're doing with this, and if they can pull it off, good on them, we will see. I think there's certain characters that they are trying to get us attached to, that in case anything happens later on. That's what my gut is right now with this. Like,
Because there's no point in having a drama like this with its defined parameters in that time slot for that demographic, if you're going to keep it safe, I suppose, Charlotte.
and also I'm thinking this is after 9 o'clock. This is, like I said, it's an event TV. It's sort of been fashioned from the beginning of, like, there's death, there's people, like that whole scene with the plastic could have looked ridiculous, could have been farcical, but you see actually consequences of loads of heavy metal and rubbish and things from the sea being lobbed from a great height. Yeah, people are going to get hurt very easily.
I fall shy of using the word spectacular because it wasn't, but it was kind of, if Christopher Nolan was working with the budget of On the Buzzes, this is probably something that he would have done. But the threat, I was convinced of this because of the heavy objects. I would imagine some of this was digital, but I couldn't see the join. I found this totally convincing. I love the somber tone of it. And again, each character developing. During these scenes, they've got Barclay's ex-wife in the taxi, and already she's changing as well. And I don't expect that we'll see that she'll get much screen time. But she was originally somebody who was very wrapped up in herself. Why we're here? We've got this place to be, that place to be, and we're being held under house arrest at this hotel. And then she's in the taxi. She's seeing what's happening. She's seeing people dying, and thinking about her own family and getting a child to safety. We see growth there as well. So whilst again, everybody's a mixture of good points and bad points, aren't they? And some of these characters may change for good permanently. Others may revert to type when this disaster reaches its conclusion. And I suppose where the entertainment is in seeing which of the characters are changed permanently by this, and who aren't. And that's also something that Russell T Davies used to do very well. And this, I would imagine, this scene with the plastic was probably storyboarded beautifully. And it's one of those things that sounds like a fun idea. It's something you'd get in a graphic novel. Again, it's something you'd probably see in Black Mirror. But to realize it and to sell it to a mainstream adult audience, it's a harder reach. And I feel that this I feel that this worked. I mean, people have said to me, why do you keep calling this a post-watershed drama? 8:30 is not post-watershed. It's semantics. This was clearly not intended to be debuted as double bills. They were obviously intending this as being one episode a week. Would it have run at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.? Of course it would have run at 9 p.m. They intended this on being a post-watershed drama, and it was quite clearly the conflict with Disney Plus that has led to this being debuted in the way that it has. So I stand by my original diagnosis. This is a post-watershed drama, Luke, and I don't know whether it's going to work. I don't know whether people are going to be seduced by this. I mean, we've got the ratings coming up in a few minutes, but obviously how many people watch it and how many people are compelled by it is a different prospect. Are people sick of environmental issues and themes in drama of all kinds, however well made it is? They could be, and people are certainly sick of the vilifying of people who are non-mainstream figures in either politics or media. We get a little bit of that in this as well, but I was sort of expecting there to be far more of that. I wouldn't say that McTighe showed restraint on this, but it could have been far, far worse. Pete McTighe, he's not, how can I put this? He's a storyteller. He's a populist. He's not a great mind of our time. He's not a literate writer. His writing is entertaining. It's very, very mainstream. And I feel that when they dig too deeply into these topics, which you can guarantee he hasn't got any firmer grasp of than I have, he'll come unstuck. And that's I think where my main concern is, that we're going to get really quite woolly thinking and cod political science and ecological conclusions served up to the mainstream simply because that's what would be signed off by the BBC per their charters. I think that's what could pull this series. I think that's what could pull this series down.
It's quite a weird one, because Russell is notoriously bad at sticking the landing.
Yeah.
So as good as Children of Earth is, I say probably the weakest episode is probably the finale. He just doesn't do finales well. I know Pete's writing. He's wrote episode 2, 3, and then they're both writing 4 together.
Correct.
They?
Correct.
So it's going to be, it'll be very, very interesting. Obviously we've got the return of the Albion party as well from 73 Yards, very, very briefly. I don't know. I preferred this version. I preferred episode 2 more than episode 1. I thought the dialogue was a lot sharper. It didn't feel as preachy.
It had more weight to it.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and I thought, Russell Tovey and Bartley and Salt, they just felt very natural, and there was that spark there. Now, don't get me wrong, post-watershed, pre-watershed, we had sexy Cyberwoman before and Orgasm Ghost. So what they're going to do?
Those were the days.
Sexy fish, is it? So who knows where this is going to go? We'll have a little sea devil baby human hybrid. It's the hybrid. It's the hybrid from Series 9. This is to explain Moffat's series arc.
What are your instincts, Charlotte, about where this could go? I mean, could it just revert to type? And is it impossible? I know you didn't like it quite as much as I did, but is it impossible for this series to ever really make good on its potential because it's a BBC production?
There's always the potential, and like I said, Barclay being your sort of point of view character, your central character, as he's the one sort of good for me part when it comes to there's other characters, but him being like that central figure throughout, and they keep focusing on him, and he keeps developing, and the Salt aspect relationship keeps developing. I think that will do it very well for this. But I'm sorry, we haven't spoken about how it ended episode 2 yet, and the fact that for me, what happened with the Sea Devil, when she changed into, and this is how I saw it, into a male.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that language they used, they didn't sort of sidestep it. They made it very clear. They talked about the voice and the hormones. And the only thing is, I will see where that goes, because it was literally the last part of the episode. So we have to see what they do with that idea.
Yeah.
But I think, and I think I won't be the only one. Once again, they have taken a classic creature, they've taken a classic character, which wasn't theirs, it was Malcolm Hulke's, and they have done a big change. And I think with the way Russell's been writing the last 2 years, and the way this team has been writing the last 2 years, I am holding my breath to see what happens there. And I think that's a very reasonable approach. Because I feel I
should make it clear that this is a new character, a new race. These aren't, Salt isn't a sea devil. She's, what do they call her? Homo amphibian. So I get the impression, and I don't know if they're going to clarify this, I get the impression that it's either inspired by or actually is the same character, the same species from the Underwater Menace, another Doctor Who related sort of marine civilization. That's the impression that I get, but she's certainly not a sea devil. The amphibian being the key to it.
But that's my point, as in I'm waiting to see what happens, because they haven't given us enough about her species. If she's an offshoot, what is she? They need to give more context. They need to add
because
more.
that scene, Charlotte, that scene was arresting when the character suddenly metamorphosized from a female aspect to a more masculine one. Obviously, I don't know if the face. It seems to me like just the face changed. I don't think they literally put an actor in the suit. Yeah. Oh, did the body change as well?
Yeah, but and this is what I'll say. The thing is, now there is a clear allegory to a group of people that they have introduced.
Because when you speak to not necessarily tea people themselves, because in my experience, most tea people just want to get on with their lives. When you speak to activists, they talk about that all the time. They say, oh well, there's lots of fish can change gender, change sex all the time. It's scientific. It's true. Amphibian life. They talk about that quite a lot as some sort of gotcha for why real science has no value. For some reason they think that's a win. So that's the only reason I know that amphibians can change their gender, can't they? To do with, it's a hormonal thing.
Yes.
I don't know why they do that. I say I'm no expert on marine life.
Because there's now that clear allegory.
That's the problem.
Have to be careful. This has to be handled very, very delicately.
If it was Stephen Moffat writing it, Charlotte, I wouldn't have thought anything of it.
Yes, and the thing is, because of the way politics and certain groups have been handled by Russell and his team, they have been used for certain points. They've been used to push certain things, and I don't want that again with this clear now.
I mean, it might not go anywhere, because we've seen lots of pictures from the remaining three. Well, no, certainly the next 2 episodes. There are lots of published pictures out there, and it's still Gugu is there playing Salt throughout them all. So I suspect it's not actually going to go anywhere, and this was an empty gesture of sorts.
Well,
but no, I do agree with you. I think in isolation. Again, there are very few actual. As much as I enjoyed this and was compelled by it, there are very few actual surprises in this, conceptually, and bold moments. I think stark horror that I talked about earlier on is one of them, and this was another one. But I'd have been a lot more interested in this. I wouldn't 10 years ago or 20 years ago than I am now. Right now, all I think of is, it's an allegory for this. He can't have a single day off with this agenda stuff. So it does make you roll your eyes. And it's only in this production at this time that it's made me feel that way. Nothing on screen that I've been shown or so far, or anything in the dialogue, realistically is an actual problem. It's just knowing who's written it. Is he going to leave it here, or is he going to take it somewhere else? Because the man will not leave it alone for a single day. That's what worries me, Gary. I mean, were you like? Do you feel the same as Charlotte?
Yes, I think it. As you said, it remains to be seen. If this is the one and only time we get this, then it's like, well, what was the kind of point of that? And Charlotte, I reacted exactly the same way. I just thought, when I saw that, I went, really, Russell? And then after the show, it's like I kind of did a little bit of my own investigation just for my own benefit about, wait, are there species that can spontaneously change? And it turns out, as Dan said, there are. There's lots of, fish and that and the other thing. Again, I think, Dan, as you said, they could easily have that character be one of the Atlanteans from the Underwater Menace, and that coordinate right there turns out to be Atlantis. That would basically be an easy graft onto existing, Who mythology.
Well,
and
you're quite right, and I just want to come to this a moment ago. Sorry for interrupting.
No.
Because I mentioned this earlier on. Trek Matt in the live chat. We're going to come to the comments in a moment. Trek Matt says it's clearly meant to be a sea devil. Come on, Dan. Matt, they've told us in the dialogue that character is not a sea devil. What more do you want? Come on now. Listen and watch. It's a different species. They went to great lengths to explain that there are 3 species that came through the waterway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't imagine that now, did I? Come on.
No, but I do think they need to add more to this. That's my point.
Well, yeah, they've got 3 episodes, and they've got 3 episodes to flesh it out. Would be what I mean.
I actually, to their credit, I thought that the 2 kind of cliffhanger scenes were very well done. The whole, we want that guy, that was a good scene. And then the scene is, will you come visit us underwater? And he goes, well, okay. So, I mean, the cliffhangers, at least, I think are done well. I mean, I'm glad that they aired these 2 episodes back to back, because I think on a first night, you need some kind of like big scene. Yeah. And if they would have just had the first episode, which was pretty much mostly just talk, and the second episode too, which was mostly just talk, but has that big action scene at the end, I think it was important that you get a scene like that on the first night, because to illustrate, well, it is a war after all, like the title says. I could have done with a little bit less of, and hopefully it'll kick off if they do go underwater, a little bit less of having, Russell Tovey like read off the monitor and everything. I mean, I realize that it's an ego thriller and you've got to kind of talk. Yeah. But I hope they kind of start moving away from that.
This is back to the hokum, though, isn't it? Because all of that, they're certain conventions of a certain kind of drama, and realistically, the character Salt's kind of demands or requests that they meet them at the bottom of the ocean. Again, this is something else that it's pure and total hokum. But if you're not going to have moments like that and explore ideas like that and give people visuals like that, then they may as well be watching House of Cards, insert political drama, whatever, wherever. This is the kind of thing that as fantasy fans, we take a bit of a leap of faith with. But because of, like we were saying right at the start, Charlotte, here's this really quite modest, unassuming character just agreeing to do this with no concept of whether he can physically survive being at the bottom of the ocean. So I don't know how they're going to sort of pull this off feasibly, but does it matter that it be feasible? I'm not entirely sure, but I certainly want to see where it goes.
To be honest, for me, this was more of a character thing of her basically saying, we've come to your land, we've come to your space. Yeah. You need to show faith and trust and come to us. Yeah. And I think that's what this was. That's sort of, because just before she said this, you had all the other politicians shouting and demanding and saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, we own this. And it was sort of her having a power play a little bit to say,
Right.
okay, you're going to be like that? Come to our house. Come to us, and then we can carry on the conversation. And I agree. The actress, because Toby, I thought was brilliant in this. Gugu, I think, was absolutely incredible. Like
Yeah.
whether she was that whole bit about you're making us. Like I said, for all some of the dialogue I found clunky in this and hitting you over the head, the bit, for example, when she said, you expect us just to sit there and suffer and to not be able to breathe, and all of that evocative language, it was really good dialogue there. And she added so much with her performance that you could feel that emotion. You could feel how desperate they were and how they need something to change now. Like that's what she conveyed really well as a character and in the acting. So
I'm still not sure, Charlotte. I'm still not sure about the Pearl thing. I'm still a little confused about that.
I can't help but think surely that's going to come back. And it
Yeah.
makes sense to come back in the next episode if they're underwater.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's how they'll communicate, or there'll be something there. Because like I said, I think, and this is where, once again, good writing. You've had 2 episodes in the courtroom, basically, a very sterile set, a very samey set, a very plain set, bar like obviously the tank. But if you look at the human side of it, it's just quite boring, but that works because of all the drama that's happening with the characters.
Yeah.
So what do you do next so people can sort of get, like you said, that change? You go to a more fantastical setting, which is underwater. But like I said, it's not just that. It's about trust. It's about the characters sort of doing this back and forward between each other as the races. So that I actually think, it makes sense for me, and it's a character moment, and it's be good to have a change of setting for us
because
to watch.
it's silly, but it's fun. And if shows like this aren't fun, then what's the point in them?
I just thought of a very easy, obvious way to have a quick scene, Dan, and it answers your question about how do you get to the bottom of the ocean. And this is a quick way to visually tie it into the original story. Have a scene where he gets sent down in some kind of updated thing that they had to put Pertwee in. Remember that kind of almost cocoon thing and they showed it in the re-edit where he goes in that kind of cocoon thing and they put the thing so you see he's in there. Have him put Barclay in an updated thing like that. It would tie it in visually to the original story as like a nod to that. It would explain how, okay, well, clearly it's their tech that in this cocoon thing he's protected. That would be an easy way to tie it in. I hope they do that. That would be great. And one more thing about that scene that Charlotte was referring to about all the jerks who were standing up and going, what about this? What about this? You know, we want, you know, you can't do it. This and this. I was actually hoping that they would have like an Amazon rep in the chamber stand up and saying, how are we supposed to get the collection set to our US customers if you block us from going over the water or something like that? I thought that would have been really good.
That's the prime example. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, Gary. My final point is that when that scene was happening, Luke, I was watching Barclay and I was thinking, okay, I was willing him to say something. You know, you have this role, you have an audience, you can make a difference here. Say something, stop them, say something, and eventually he did sort of turn around and tell them to, because I thought, tell them to shut up, tell them, you know, you are the ambassador, whether you meant to be or not. Even though it's a case of mistaken identity, even though all this is ridiculous, you are the ambassador. Assert your position and tell them all to shut up. And he did so in his own sort of way.
Yeah, well, I think he's not that authority yet, is he? He's still second guessing himself. No. If he turns around, and I think all of us watching it being like, just tell him to shut up. And how they shot it well was great. Going Dutch onto Salt as well. I thought it was a great move as she's just shouting everyone down. It's bum bum bum, very very tense. Kate is shouting in his ear as well, and he's not the Doctor. He's not that authority figure to be like, quiet, silence, right, everything through me. He's just like, okay, I'll quiet, please, chirp. Yeah, so obviously he'll grow into that role. You can see how how he's kind of showing he's that when he's with his ex-missus and his daughter. He is that confident, like, oh, I'm a part of history, look at me. And then when he's
Yeah.
confronted with these politicians and these figures who are more authoritative than him, he's still kind of in his shell. He's not who he is around his family. And obviously then that will come out in the later episodes. But yeah, I thought it was a great piece of acting and writing from everyone on board.
I found watching this a relief because obviously I'm committed to watching it all between now and Christmas for a variety of reasons. Ideally, I should be looking forward to something like this, Charlotte, because I've always enjoyed the spin-offs. I thought the time was right for another spin-off years ago. And generally speaking, I think there's a lot of scope to build out the Whoniverse. I think the proof of concept was perfectly sound. But over the months and over the last couple of years, I had lost pretty much all faith in Russell T Davies, who was a writer that I'd always admired, always followed. I wouldn't say that all is now forgiven, not by a long, long chalk. And I'm not even sure when this was written. Maybe this was written before season 2. It could have been written before season 1. And maybe this was the last vestiges of his former talent. But for the time being, I'm really open to seeing where this goes. I'm certain I won't like all of it, but I'm now at a place where I'm considering that there's probably going to be more to enjoy than not. I think I'm up on the deal. You've heard what we all think. We're going to take some comments from the live chat now. They've been very patient listening to us go on. Let's see what they've all got to say, where they sit about these first couple of episodes of the war between the land and the sea.
Ah, perfect. Just the person I need to see. Firstly, loving the outfit, by the way. Really suits your hair. Secondly, the universe is falling apart. I don't have much time to yet. I need to shoot off. I need to do something. But by all means, this is imperative. Watch Type 40. The Type 40 podcast is where you need to be. Seguida!
Yes, this is Type 40 Live, the war between the land and the sea. Our first reviews and reactions here of those opening 2 episodes, and people on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook throwing in their rants and raves as well. At first in was Lord Thoth, who said, does this mean I need to watch this? I was going to avoid it. So one word, Luke, should Lord Thoth watch this? Is it safe to watch? Safe to look?
Yes.
Harry?
Sure. Have we ever steered you wrong, Lord Thoth? Come on.
No, that's more than one word.
Charlotte?
Give it a go.
There you go. There we are. So give it a go, a sure, and a yes. And I'd say yeah. You get a yeah. Yeah, a yeah from me. We've got Peter Harrington in the live chat. Back to Barclay here, the character. His wife or ex seemed to belittle him a lot. Well, yeah, he'd been ground down, hadn't he? The divorce hadn't been easy for him. It was pretty clear that she'd initiated it, and she'd moved on the most in her life. She seemed to have a new partner and a social life, and he seemed like he was pretty much sort of stamping the clock, picking up the money, and living the best life that he could, but not necessarily happy or having any real direction. I think that's what happens when people's marriages break down, isn't it? So yeah, she did belittle him a lot, but she wasn't by the end, was she? And that was the interesting part for me.
To be fair, at the beginning, he was lying to her. Like, he was keeping secrets.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
actually, in those scenes at the beginning, I didn't see it as belittling. I thought, no, actually, if your husband or your ex is saying, oh, I can't have the kid for these weekends, I can't tell you why, I just can't have her, then it's not a reaction to go, I'm sorry, what?
Because I wouldn't describe him as being cowardly as such, or necessarily duplicitous, but it seemed like he would say stuff for a quiet life, Charlotte.
Well, I said he had a bit of a double life, even though he was a taxi booker, he still couldn't tell her about it. So I think she was quite reasonable, honestly, in some of those scenes.
Woodhouse 122 says, I agree with Charlotte. I can see where all of this is leading to. And Stephen O'Neill says Roger Trethwick would have been a more interesting character than Barclay Card, Russell Tovey. That was a running joke. Again, Russell T Davies used to be really good at these nice little running gags that wouldn't overstay their welcome, that would be quite charming and add a little something. Even that's back as well. He dropped it just at the right time, I thought. David Mullen says, that's over-rationalising it, Dan. Which bit? David, this comment was a little while ago, so which bit? Don't tell me I've been thinking about it again. Heaven forbid. White liberal guilt personified, says Matthew Pounders. That's just a general statement on the war between the land and the sea so far. Well, obviously, it's going to be left-leaning. This is the BBC. It's going to be very, very obvious in that respect, and it is an eco thriller, albeit with a fantastical bent. It was meant to be reverse DEI, a woman chastising a man for not being there on merit. You could look at it that way, but I think that it's more just by storytelling tropes, really, in this respect. Russell T Davies isn't above this sort of stuff. You're quite right, but again, I think this is us being somewhat reactionary, in my opinion, Matthew. But you're not wrong. It's one way of looking at it. Woodhouse says episode 1 wasn't too bad, but the preachiness ramped up in episode 2, Gary.
The reason, Woodhouse, that I actually enjoyed the second episode a little bit better is because it was missing like the obvious RTD-isms that bugged me in his episode.
Which were which?
Just the little agenda comments and stuff to where I felt I was hearing RTD and not the characters.
Little asides.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Davey 96 says, I liked Ep 1 more than 2. I wish Kate wasn't in charge of unit. She's so useless and uninteresting, and no one cares about her and her soldier toy. Until they drop that character, Luke, people are not going to be able to take it seriously. It's a pity, isn't it? Because the guy who plays him, he hasn't written the part. He's happy to be there, but he just seems to have got the shitty end of the stick, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's just, that entire time they spent setting up their relationship by holding hands clearly paid off dividends in this series. So I'm glad they've actually followed through on something that they planned 3 years ago. So the foundations were there.
And where was the Blinks, I ask you?
Oh, yeah.
In for a service.
Oh, yeah.
In for a service. They forgot to put the charging dock in.
There you go.
He'd run down. The Zero Room says, I had a feeling that the spin-off would be better than actual Doctor Who. Not perfect, but much better. This was considerably better so far than anything we've had from Doctor Who, probably since Capaldi, maybe even a little bit earlier, the latter Capaldi stuff. I don't know. It's the best thing that's been put out for a while.
What this has crystallized in my head after watching this is the current team and Russell and everybody cannot write for the Doctor as your main character now. They cannot find his voice. They don't know how to deal with the Doctor. So as soon as they've got a show where they've got a brand new main character that clearly they've got a better idea about, clearly you've got an actor who can add a lot to the character, can sort of build the character up a lot, it just shows for me that they've lost touch with the main show in the fact of the Doctor here. And
I can't argue with the logic of that.
And now they're free of that. They've sort of not got that issue, and they can go and run with these new ones that are the new characters. And Barclay feels like Russell of old when he had these characters like a Rose, like a Mickey, like those sort of that he has thought this character out. He has got an end game for this character, and he's got a very good actor in there to help along with that process.
Do you think the character of the Doctor has become a burden for some of these writers who see it as him as an opportunity, as a vessel for all of the things that you named earlier on, Charlotte? and they simply can't bring themselves to lay down what they view as a responsibility. I was watching the Sea Devils and listening to not just to Pertwee's exquisite performance of the character, but the way Malcolm Hulke had written that. And I've no doubt that Terence Dicks had done a lot of fine tuning, had sanded it down a little. So between them, all those efforts, just realizing this beautiful character that was had all these sides to him, avuncular and patrician, but not necessarily authoritarian, just so perfectly balanced. And the actor being able to bring the rest, to bring us a humanity from within him to put into this alien, and they just don't seem to be interested in that balancing act anymore. It's got to be about something else. And so freed of that burden, here they are able to realize decent characters again, rather than see it as something that can be labeled and elevated as a mascot to any one of a number of causes. I never looked at it like that before, Charlotte, but you've nailed it. You're absolutely right.
I think characters, the term I like to say is that they have a voice, especially when you've had multiple years of a character on screen. They have a voice, they have a soul, they have a personality that you need to be able to key into as a writer. And if you cannot, it comes out as disjointed, as wrong. And even if as viewers we don't know it fully when we're watching, we have a reaction to that. And I feel like
we know it doesn't. We know it's not authentic, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's why we've had Shooty be rejected and Tennant to a lesser degree when he came back with this current production team, because they don't know how to write that character anymore. And sadly, that's what this show, this spin-off, has just sort of made me come to fully realise.
Brought into sharper focus, isn't it? Nobody wants to see Kate's coconuts manhandled, says Matthew Panda. Speak for yourself. And but I started something.
That'll
here
be in
by
episode
mentioning-
3, Matt.
I started something here by mentioning V. There's lots of comments here about V, and I'm not going to mention it too much because for a start, I could keep talking till 1 a.m. about V. But Philip Roy, I want to mention Phil's comment. Original V was Appointment TV on its first miniseries run. Unmissable. If you've never seen V, specifically the original, the remake's not bad either, but specifically the original, go and find it. I think it's certainly on DVD.
Speaking of characters who get the Doctor right, there you go, Philip Roy.
Philip Roy. Oct-Eye says there, watching on YouTube, says, is that a Scottish bauble as your icon? That's very good. Oct-Eye says, another slight error. When the rubbish was falling out of the sky, people said it was plastic, but there was an anchor. An anchor isn't plastic, plus other items shown.
We haven't mentioned the Titanic. What did the three of you think about the Titanic showing?
Hokum overload. Probably should have resisted. Probably should have resisted that. It's that scene from Ghostbusters, isn't it? The Titanic's just got in. Is it Ghostbusters 2? That is when the Titanic comes in.
Yes, I think
my
so.
My first thought about that, and again, I know that we should just kind of go with the fantasy of it, but I thought, wait, shouldn't that be in about like 10 pieces? If they tried to lift it out of the water and dump it on land.
I mean, it was mostly plastic, because that's the theme of pollution generally, isn't it? But the idea was they were undoing all the damage that's been done to the environment. It's in the it is in the dialogue. So it depends on how literally you want to take it. Stephen Braddock agrees with you, Charlotte. Colonel Pierce has gravitas and strength of character. And Fly Highland asks, do the Sea Devils still talk in whispery voices? The Sea Devils haven't said a great deal so far. That squawk at the start, where there's one in a fishing trawler net, in with all the fish, that was brilliant. It was like, and it was the same as the original, but it was just it was Jurassic Parked up. It was well updated. I'm a big fan of these new Sea Devils. I think it's a fantastic update. Really do. Oh, but Stephen Braddock says Russell T Davies has ruined Malcolm Hulke's Sea Devils. Well, he hasn't actually, apart from the new design, which is Joel Collins, who's done that in his company. also based at Bad Wolf Studios. He hasn't actually done much with the Sea Devils themselves yet. The Sea Devils appear to be the muscle, the foot soldiers of these various different races that have all got together to visit humanity and bring us to task. So
and bear in mind, Stephen, they make it a point, like in 2 different scenes with the graphics of when they open up the lock, that with the different colors, they say there's 3 distinct life forms coming in. So they do seem to be making it a point in the dialogue that they're all distinct life forms.
They've told us that 3 times in the actual episode. Yeah. They've said it several times. Philip Roy says the 3rd species is Gumblejack. So the 6th Doctor could be in trouble. They come to get their revenge. The Zero Room adds here, I've been watching SpongeBob for the first time since earlier this year, and I love it. SpongeBob, you can't go wrong with a bit of SpongeBob.
He'll be in episode 4.
If we
That
don't
would
see
be
a
brilliant.
massive pineapple, folks.
That's so good.
Matthew Pounder says they're ripping off the amphibians from Stingray. Okay. The Titanic was in it, says Fly Highland. Weren't you paying attention, Fly Highland?
Yes.
Trek Matt UK adds, I think it's also difficult with, and this is to your side there about the Doctor, Charlotte, it's difficult with them getting through so many different actors so quickly. Makes it harder to get attached to the character, because as soon as you do, another actor comes in. It's the momentum of the show. I think it has got to that place as well where actors feel that they can't stay for longer than 3 years. Well, actually, no, that's not true, because Capaldi wanted to stay.
Yeah.
There's a repeat coming up. BBC 3 repeating episodes 1 and 2 tomorrow night for those of you with a TV license who haven't caught this yet and maybe stirred into looking. This looks like a job for Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. So the SpongeBob reference.
Dan, I just realized something. Tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like all the scenes in the trailer were from these first 2 episodes. So I think it's good that they haven't let us know anything of any scenes of what's about to come. I think that's intentional. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. A thumbs up here from the Zero Room. And we've got more comments about Kate Stewart's sex life. And we can't keep labouring that point.
That's another spin-off.
dear me. So again, some great artwork, some great moments, lots of talking points. But did many people turn up to see it? I suppose that's the big question, because it's one thing to look all flashy and modern and to be in a post-watershed audience, but is that really what people want? We've got the ratings. The overnight figures are in for episodes 1 and 2. Homo Aqua episode 1 by Russell T Davies, 2.8 million is the overnight figure on that. Plastic Apocalypse, which followed just 45 minutes later, stood at 2.01 million. So it's a drop. That's nearly a third of the audience didn't stay the course for the second episode. Maybe they'll, again, giving people 2 episodes of something on the bounce like that, it's not for everyone. Sometimes I think, oh, well, if that's on the iPlayer, I might watch that in the middle of the week. Or some people simply won't have liked episode 1 and it's time for bed. They got work the next day or whatever. My feeling actually is that this is pretty much what I expected to see ratings wise. I'd have been amazed if it had gone above 3 million. I don't know how in line this is with other post-watershed drama. I'm aware that there have been standout successes in the last 3 or 4 years in these kind of slots, specifically Line of Duty. So I'm not entirely sure, but obviously it's not prime time. It's post-watershed. Expectations may be slightly altered. What's your perception of these ratings, Luke? Is this in the ballpark? Where do you think they'll be happy with this?
I thought that was good. It was up against I'm a Celebrity finale, the final episode of I'm a Celeb. Yeah, so and I think that come on around 9 o'clock ish. So around about when just before Plastic Apocalypse started.
So people would have wanted to see who won.
Yeah, where this is available on iPlayer straight away, isn't it? So you can easily switch off and just go, oh, cool, okay. Because I better watch I'm a Sled episode of this, to be honest. And that was the initial plan, was to watch I'm a Sled first, especially because you got like, you know, Angry Ginge who pulls in a big crowd, or you got all these people that are pulling in.
Hang on. Say that again. What was I didn't understand a word of that last sentence.
He's a YouTuber
Angry?
on
He's a YouTuber called Angry Ginge. So he's like a very popular figure online and popular with the older audience. So he's going to pull the crowd in as well. And then you've got Tom and Ruby Wax and all these other people. They're going to draw him in. So I think 2.8 for the first episode is very reasonable. I think it's higher than the majority of all the season 2's overnights, I think.
Of Doctor Who?
Yeah, it's always close.
The first one is for sure.
Overnights of Doctor Who?
Yeah, so it actually a lot better than pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I suspected this would do better than Doctor Who, but then again, you couldn't really do a great deal worse.
No, but then the I'm a Celeb finale had, I think the overnights for that was something around 7 million.
Do you think? Yeah, it's still a huge show. Do you think that more people would have watched War Between had it not been opposite the I'm a Celebrity final?
Yeah, I think so. And then to still pull in a 2.8 and then a over 2 million when it's up against it, it's a swing from the BBC, and it clearly works.
Because I'm a Celebrity. It's not just about the ratings, is it? I'm a Celebrity has a huge audience share too.
Yes, massive. Yeah.
Is that the show where they're all stuck in a house?
Stuck in the jungle.
Stuck in the jungle. Okay.
In a house in the jungle, or in a jungle inside a house. Actually, it's a jungle inside a house because it's all controlled environments, isn't it?
Okay.
It's not really the jungle. They say it's the jungle, but it's not really the jungle. And they're celebrities, but they're not really celebrities. They just say they're celebrities, hoping that they'll be celebrities when they come out, is the impression that I tend to get. I watched it the year that Colin Baker was on it.
God, I forgot you done it. Yeah. But to go up against the show, which is obviously having a huge audience share because of it's bringing on like H the rapper, it's bringing on Angry Ginge, who is very well known. It's like, I think last night's.
I've dated at least 2 women that you could describe as being Angry Ginge. Listen,
maybe one of them was the one he's talking about.
But Angry Ginge had 13 million votes last night in the finale. So
What?
I know.
Wow.
So it clearly it is a big audience share, and to put it up against the flagship of ITV essentially is a massive swing. So to get these results,
who won it?
Angry Ginge, the
Angry Ginge
YouTuber.
did win. Okay,
yeah,
a YouTuber as well. Well, okay. Charlotte, what are your thoughts? Was this what you were expecting? Anywhere near, or what do you think? Is it a massive disappointment, or what do you think?
I didn't know initially how this was going to do, because usually the spin-off is very much affected by the parent show and how the fan base and the people are feeling about that. If there's a high interest in Who proper, usually you would think people are more likely to watch the spin-off. But then I was like, oh, but like we've been saying in the run-up to this is clearly being marketed as a different show. It's not sort of relying on Who as much as other spin-offs in the past. It is trying to be its own thing. The thing is,
Whoniverse.
Yeah, but at first when I saw that drop off, I was like, oh God, that's a lot. The fact that you've basically put 1 and 2 together, and you would think in an ideal world you would either keep your viewing figures or go up a little bit. And then I got reminded about the I'm a Celebrity final. I went, that is probably a lot of the reason for that drop off. Like Luke said, it's a massive program. It had high profile people in it this year. I think the only real true tell is going to be the next 2 batches when it comes to how this has been received. Because if enough people have either heard the good things about it, or the things or like if people like me have been a bit more mixed but said there's good bits and bad bits and gone, well, I might give it a try because of that, it could get an uptick, it could do quite well. But then if it doesn't, I think that's a real sign that this, as an experiment, as sort of let's see how it goes sort of feel, that I think this whole show has had a bit attached to it at times. it sort of, to me, will show the gamble hasn't paid off. And I think BBC will be very reticent to do another spin-off quickly if this doesn't work. I think this show needs to prove a lot. And I'm hoping for the sake of the brand that it can. And I do think, like I said before I need to go, there are parts and there are threads of this that if they can keep them going, if they can keep improving on them, I'll be very happy to say I struggled with the main show, but at least I had a spin-off that I enjoyed. Or at least the spin-off actually proved that there was some worth in getting Russell back, in getting this team back, and they could produce something of quality. Because I don't want to be here saying I hate watching anything to do with Doctor Who. I want to enjoy. I want to have fun. I want to be entertained. So if they can give me that, even if just one spin-off, I'll be very happy. But like I said, there are parts of this that I'm just sort of holding my breath about. I want to see where they go with it. And I'm hoping that my fears are just fears and they don't come to fruition. So we will see. But I do need to go.
You're definitely going to be watching the rest of it then.
Yeah, like I said, like I said, Barclay was such a nice surprise for me. I'm really invested in him. I want to see his story play out. I want to see him and Salt's relationship, see what happens there. And I want to see if they can do anything with Kate. Like, that's the other thing. Like I said, they're trying. I can see the attempt. Let's see if they can pull it off. But I think we're all in that mode right now. And I think we're fully in our right to be, I'm not going to count my blessings until I see it on screen. Let's see what Russell and his team can do.
Thank you again, Charlotte. Happy pumpkin time. I'll speak to you in another few days when our Christmas programming begins proper. But yeah, good night, Charlotte. Thank you. Thank you.
So very fun note as well, very quickly, going back to the I'm a Celeb. So the I'm a Celeb ratings had a 74% audience share for 16 to 34.
Wow.
Oh,
So I'm a Celeb pulled them in. So
it's easy to forget how big a show that is. I mean, you could say it was reckless of them scheduling against it, but yeah, it wasn't. None of this was ideal, was it? I mean, Charlotte described it as a gamble. I think that the wheels came off the whole project, the whole concept of this some months ago. That what they've actually tried to do is recover what of it they could, whatever dignity and profile the Doctor Who brand could cling on to in the wake of face planting yet again. And it was always going to be an exercise in what they call damage limitation. And so running this in the countdown to Christmas probably was the best case scenario. But even so, that putting it against I'm a Celeb, Doctor Who, even at the height of its powers, would have struggled with that.
I think that if they decided that they had to air it in calendar year 2025, their options were kind of limited.
Yeah, they'd have been stuffed on the BBC. That's why we had what we had a few months ago. Rose Kirby says, "I hope I can watch the final episode on the 21st somewhere. I'm not away again until New Year's Eve." Got to fit in around your busy social calendar, Rose. Everything you've got lined up for Christmas. Stephen says, so based on the overnights, it could go up to 4 or 5 million when it's updated. I think that's very difficult to say that in this day and age what increase you would expect. I only really look at the 7-day figures. I know that they do these sort of 31-day ones, and they stay up on iPlayer pretty much in perpetuity. So that has completely changed the landscape, and it has changed how we talk about it. How can it not? But for the purposes of my own sort of sanity, I stick to just looking at the 7 days consolidated, because there's always been an extra life. Well, not always. Okay, since the advent of home video, there's been an extended life for most productions. more so since the DVD age, because obviously the speed at which things were released once they've been on television would obviously be was quickened quite a lot. So things have always changed. Ezra Goldstein says, "Surprised the ratings are terrible. What a shock." They're not. The sad thing is, Ezra, those ratings aren't terrible. They haven't set the world alight. No, but that's not a terrible rating at all. This is a post-watershed drama. It's not terrible at all. It was probably snowing last night, so that explains the ratings, says the Zero Room, of people staying in to avoid the snow.
Is it snowing there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's raining though, really bad. That's horrible.
Catherine Fee says, "Thank God New Rose wasn't in it." I was expecting more unit personnel to appear. Maybe they will bit by bit. I mean,
I honestly hope that we see Mel before this is over. I really do.
She's the only one I take really seriously.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a drop-off, says Matthew Pan. It's a noticeable drop-off, but Luke's scenario with the I'm a Celebrity finale holds a lot of water.
Yeah, 74%.
Obviously, it's only on for 3 weeks as well. Yeah, it was never gonna. It's amazing. It is amazing it managed to get what it did in the face of that. It's a sad state of affairs, adds Stephen O'Neill, when the spin-off does better than the parent show, Doctor Who, in the ratings. Again, I wasn't surprised by this at all. I said this would do better than Doctor Who. I hate to say this. The words stick in my mouth every time. People are sick of Doctor Who. And that's why I believe that they know that. I believe they know that they've damaged the brand in the eyes of the general public. And they knew that removing the Whoniverse fanfare was the wisest thing to do. I'm surprised they didn't remove those mentions of the Doctor. Why didn't they? Don't know. But I bet it was touch and go. Do you think, says Rose Kirby, do you think that episode 2, Plastic Apocalypse, was a great title? Yeah. It's a silly title. It's hokum. It's silly. Why not? It's fine.
It's a comic booky title.
Yeah. Matt's up. Australia doesn't have jungles. We have bush, and he doesn't mean Melanie Bush. He means proper bushland that only real men can survive out in with their tucker bag and their billy can and a roo and everything else and a 4X. And have I missed any cliches, Matt?
That's not a knife. That's a knife. Yeah, there you go.
Love the new icon, Matt. That's great.
Yes,
Matt Pot on YouTube. If you haven't followed Matt's own channel, please go and take a look. Some fabulous videos, real curiosities, some really quite what's the expression you use, Matt? Inappropriate opinions. And Matt's doing shorts as well and all sorts of experimental things. He has fun on his channel, and you probably will too. Check Matt Pot out on YouTube. Sea pumpkin time for Charlotte this time, says Stephen Braddock. And Peter Harrington asks, how much did this show cost to make? 10 million squid.
Oh,
perhaps.
Good one, Pete.
I hate reality TV, says the Zero Room. Well, I'm not a big fan myself either, but it's very, very popular even now. We've got more questions about Angry Ginge, but since I can't even say that phrase without laughing, I think it's best we leave those there. It's trying to be Torchwood, adds Heat Sinker. What a great name, Heat Sinker. Sounds like it's something you'd buy from the supermarket by Ronco. It's like $12.99, and it could do all these wonderful things. It's trying to be Torchwood. Well, it's a sister show. They're bedfellows, aren't they? It's thematically very similar. I mean, I said this last week. I feel that I've spent the last 15 years, Luke. You weren't on this one, so you won't have heard this. Gary's heard it, though, so he can just pretend that he hasn't. So I said last week, we seem to have been hearing over the last 15 years a great portion of the Doctor Who fandom crying out, why can't we have something like Children of Earth again? They produce something like Children of Earth again, and the same people are just saying, oh, it's reheated Torchwood. The exact same people, and you know who you are, are saying, oh, it's just reheated Torchwood. It's trying to be Torchwood. You can't please all the people all the time, but I do sometimes think that Doctor Who fans need. We need to have a word with ourselves sometimes. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But it is noticeable that people have got, in one sense, what they wanted, and we're still not happy. And I include myself in that. I'm just as much of a contrarian as anybody else.
I'm going to start a campaign for a sequel to Miracle Day. That is what I want.
Really?
Miracle Week? Miracle Week.
Let us know how that goes.
So we had 28 days later, and then we had 28 weeks later. We had Miracle Day, Miracle Week. Could that work, Gary? Do you think?
Miracle Day, and I'm being totally honest, has been in my watch queue for about 13 years now, and I still haven't gotten around to it.
It's dire. It's so bad.
Matt Potts says we've had the revenge of Anton Deck with the triumph of I'm a Celebrity over the war between the land and the sea. And Peter Harrington says, my God, so proof of if people like something, folk will watch. Well, if you mean word of mouth, if people talk up a series, then other people might think that it's worth watching.
Well, Traders gets 15 million,
Yeah.
Traders so
this
good.
Won't save the brand, says Matthew Pounder. No, of course it won't. But it was never, when this was conceived of, this wasn't to save the brand. This was a component part of a proposal for to be sold, ideally and repeated. Despite what they may claim now, they wanted initially to remain with Disney and for that to set the pattern of the future and to expand the Whoniverse in this way. So no, this won't save the brand. Of course it won't. But it was perfectly viable, and it's a perfectly decent show so far. Like I said, they could blow it next week. It's good.
They
for
got
Sunday
two
night.
chances to do it. So
yeah, the days are short. It'll all be over in a fortnight. It's good for a Sunday night. Yes, I do. I knew it would be on a Sunday. It just looks like that kind of show. And we've got lots of comments about Shooty Gatwa. People are missing Shooty. Not. Definitely not. Sean Pertwee as the next Doctor, and that's never not going to be a good idea, is it? So if you've been stimulated by our coverage here of the opening two episodes of The War Between the Land and the Sea, the good news is that if you have a TV license, you can watch and rewatch to your heart's content and go and find other things that they may have got wrong, little inconsistencies, or maybe there are little details there to the world building and the characters that could benefit from a rewatch, come to think of it. I think there was a lot in those two episodes, and it was a heady time, Gary. I wasn't expecting to hate it. I thought it would probably be okay, but I didn't think it would be as compelling as it actually was. Yeah. I thought that I would grind my teeth a few times, and I didn't really. So I actually am really quite keen to see where this goes.
Oh, me as well, especially since, we have not seen a single scene from what's coming. I do agree. I think Charlotte made a lot of fine points during the show, but I totally agree with her idea that it's frustrating that there were hints and there were character moments, and I think we've all kind of addressed them, which shows you that, wow, that was so good, but then kind of something else kind of was like and it's like, so, I mean, they are capable of producing, affecting, character moments, but then they throw a lot of other things in there as well. I have one last question for both of you. I'm just curious about, Dan, would it have been better for them to air this between seasons 1 and 2?
Maybe. Hard to say. Luke?
Well, it didn't exist, so.
But I mean, with the schedule to where that if this does turn out to be overall a good miniseries, it could actually have provided a little momentum for the season 2 of the regular show.
Potentially, I think it. Yeah. I mean, it sets up the holding hands even more. Now it's just playing into my theory about Colonel Sexy Pants and the war between the bed sheets. For Warren, whatever her name is, Kate Lethbridge Stewart.
Don't give anybody any ideas, Luke.
Yeah, I know. That's the next spin-off. Yeah, I don't know. I think it suits well after series 2, but I think the entire thing is, look, Torchwood felt earned when it came around as a spin-off. Sarah Jane felt earned as a spin-off. This one just feels like, yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. It just didn't feel earned, and I still will say Russell probably has written Kate Leslie Stewart the best out of Chibnall, Moffat, and himself. I think he's given it a more character, but I still think it's just I think after seasons 3, if they were to do a season 3, if they got recommissioned, I think then would have been a perfect time to probably do this. I think now it just feels a little bit tacked on and kind of forced, and as Dan said, this is about, oh look, this is what you could have had, and they're trying to the DCEU in it instead of MCU in it. They're just jumping the gun.
Where do you think?
Oh,
I'm
Barkley.
curious. I'm curious. Where do you think this the Jurassic Park element of the stealing the genetic sample? Where do you think that's going to go?
No idea.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, again, this will pull the various groups, disparate groups, in different directions. So you'll end up with different alliances across humanity and the people from the water. You'll find that the two camps start to break away, mutual interests to be sought in a clandestine way. That would be what I hope for this, because obviously we've still seen less than half of it. So I would hope, desperately hope, we're not going to get simply more one person two people standing 10 feet away from one another talking things out. I want to see something bold and audacious.
Yeah.
If this is going to be full of hokum, and there's a lot of hokum for all the reality that's in this, there's a lot of hokum as well. Turn both of those things up. Give us something that's really going to be memorable. And I suspect it may indeed reach the conclusion that is the obvious one. But if it's a fun ride to get there, I won't necessarily mind. I mean, I talk a lot about the original series of Star Trek, and they would explore most scenarios from both angles, however you want to look at it. For any side of a dilemma they place those characters in, they would explore all angles, but they would ultimately always choose a direction that the story itself would rest in. And it was never in the middle. Well, sometimes it was a middle ground, but often it was either in one camp or another. It has to go somewhere. Let's just hope that the journey over the next 2 weeks is a dramatic and fun one, and can fuel a couple more of these decent conversations where we can compare and contrast, explore, pull our hair out if we like, and have a few laughs. Have a few more laughs as well. I don't know. Poor old Barkley. Put your trousers up, sunshine, because you're going to be. He's going to be on the bottom of the ocean next week. The poor lad. I don't think I fancy his chances. I've got to be honest. But we'll be there for more. We'll be there for more. What has become of Doctor Who? Eh? What would Mary have to say about all of this nonsense? I don't know.
So you went into a phone box with a mobile
They
phone?
thought it was raining. It was pouring rain, that's why. So I went to get
So you went into a phone box and you had a mobile?
To cry in private.
I was hoping it was a TARDIS.
And what would the Doctor make of all of this? All this conversation, and so little of it has been about him, about them. We'll be making up for that on the next Type 40 Live. Don't you worry. In the meantime, come and say hello, as always, through our social media, Instagram and X, at Type 40 Doctor Who. There we are, ready and waiting. And there's our Type 40 Live Facebook group as well. We've got a review thread up and running for The War Between the Land and the Sea. People posting their takes there too. A lot of venting going on. Some people do like it too. So yeah, it's very colourful, but then again, it always is in the Type 40 Facebook group. So if you're not a member, why not? You can leave us some feedback on SpeakPipe too. Any kind of feedback whatsoever, suggestions, reviews of your own, predictions, anything of that nature. Just keep it clean if you can. Okay, more. Yeah, you want more? You want some more? Yeah, hit the playlists for earlier editions of Type 40 Live. So our Doctor Who Day shows, for example, our deep dive reviews, our Ask Us Anything specials. And of course, there's lots of Christmas shows as well. If you're getting in the Christmas spirit, you can relive some of our Christmases past over there while you get prepared for our Christmas editions for 2025. That's coming up, as well as further editions of the Type 40 podcast too across all major podcatchers and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. We'll be turning back around, of course, next week for more of The War Between the Land and the Sea, episodes 3 and 4. Now, you did tell me who's written which ones. Gary, did you say Pete has written episode?
Well, I was confirming what Luke said, and I think that he was right where he said Pete McTighe wrote 2 and 3. The two of them together wrote 4, and then Russell the finale, right, Luke?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's the way it goes.
We'll work it out between us.
Just have a quick
somehow.
check. Let me double fact check this. Hold on.
I
Whoever's
will
written
tell.
what?
I do want to tell Luke that. I mean, going by the chat, Luke, there's a lot of people actually interested in your idea of doing a Kate's sex life spinoff.
Tell you, the war between the bed sheets is the next one.
Whatever happens, Type 40 Live will be your companion to each and every installment of this event series. On the way to Christmas, no party lines, no beefs, no bullshit, just our genuine, authentic opinions, the cut and thrust of banter. We never know where it's going to go, and you won't either. So make sure you're here for more from 8 p.m. next Monday, as always, for episodes 3 and 4. But as for Thursday, on the next Type 40 Live, we're kicking off our Christmas coverage on the Big Who. Of course, we are. Tom's getting the tree in. I'm not sure. I think he may have stolen it. I think he's secured that from somewhere unknown. But we're going to get it up. We're going to decorate it. Well, we're going to dress it. We're not going to decorate it. You dress a Christmas tree, don't you, Tom? Yeah. So be here for the beginning of our Christmas season this Thursday on the Big Who from 8 p.m. here at Type 40. Good to have you back, Luke. Your Christmas plans firming up, mate? Anything good happening? Get some dates in the diary.
I think so. Yeah, I think we got the cast and crew screening of I Made War of the Worlds, Time Machine, and The Invisible Man.
Awesome.
And I don't know what else I got on, to be honest. Christmas with the Mrs. family, going back to Wales, and yet to confirm it is right. The writers list is right. Pete McTighe did 2 and 3. Russell and him did 4. Russell did 5. So yes,
Gotcha.
And if people want to see your fine productions, Luke, where did they go?
Just imagine them in the ether. No, go have a look at Cinescope Pictures on. No, it's not Cinescope Pictures, is it? It's Cinescope LTD on YouTube, and you'll find some more about. I Made War of the Worlds. I'm in a Time Machine. Hooligans, the award-winning Doctor Who sitcom. Matt is going for me tonight. She called me dishevelled, doing a Jules Verne. Oh my God, Matt! No love lost between me and Matt tonight. Jesus.
Oh no,
Jules Verne. What's the name about Jules Verne?
I have no idea.
Well, no, it wouldn't be. It would be H.G. Wells. It wouldn't be, right, Luke? Because it's all H.G. Wells.
Yes, all H.G. Wells stuff. But yes,
Matthew Pound has left us with Matthew Pound has left us with the final message. Don't forget to chuck your plastic bottles in the sea. So it's that 2 hours worth of content has been wasted on you.
I know. I think you're learning the wrong lesson from this spin-off, Matt.
Woodhouse 122. I'm off to the coast there to dump all of my plastic. The members of the furry community have dropped in as always. We are big with the furries here at Type 40 Live, aren't we? Including the Zero Room there. Lots of. Oh, I think he's talking about the Christmas tree. There we are. Oh, the furries. I gotcha. Yeah, we are popular. We are the furry community's absolutely top Doctor Who podcast. I have it on good authority. That was Tom's favoured companion after Liz Sladen. There you go, says Phil.
What, the tree?
It's very true. Very true.
Brilliant, yeah. Could well be. Okay, yes. So where are we going to be? Where and when? I don't know. I can't even remember my name. All I keep thinking about is Angry Ginge, which has brought back some real memories. Not all of them unpleasant, I don't mind telling you. But we always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. Thank you both for your company. I'll catch up with you soon. done double duty here with Gary. But there's always
Been a
more where
great
that
day.
came from, isn't there, Gary?
It's been a great day. Very fun.
We're going to go run around the TARDIS for a little while now, aren't we? Because, well, I think we're still full of energy, strangely, but we'll see you back here for more come Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.